The galactic arena floated in the darkness of space like a massive crystal jewel. Inside its transparent walls, thousands of aliens from across the Empire watched with eager eyes. Holographic screens filled the air, broadcasting the scene to billions more across countless worlds. Everyone wanted to see what would happen today. Tai Yang stood in the center of the arena floor, his hands bound in energy cuffs. He was 28 years old, an engineer from Earth who had been exploring deep space when his ship was captured 3 weeks ago. Now he stood before the most powerful beings in the galaxy, wearing nothing but his torn uniform. His black hair was messy, and his face showed the exhaustion of weeks in captivity. But his eyes remained steady. Above him, seated on a floating throne of purple light, Princess Lixara looked down with obvious disgust. She was tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered like silver and eyes that glowed with an inner fire. Her people, the Valorians, were known throughout the Empire as the strongest warrior race. They healed faster than any other species, moved with incredible speed, and possessed strength that could crush steel. "Look at it," Princess Lixara said, her voice amplified across the arena. "This is what Earth sends to explore the stars? This weak, fragile creature?" Laughter rippled through the crowd. Aliens of every shape and size joined in the mockery. Some had multiple arms, others had scales or fur or skin that glowed in the dark. All of them looked more powerful than the single human standing below. Tai Yang said nothing. He had learned in his weeks of captivity that arguing with the princess only made things worse, but he refused to lower his eyes. He stood straight despite his exhaustion, despite his fear, despite knowing he was completely outmatched. "Bow before your betters, human," Princess Lixara commanded. Taeyang did not move. The arena fell silent. Even the princess seemed surprised by his defiance. In the Valorian Empire, refusing a royal command meant death. Every alien in the audience knew this. They waited to see what would happen next. "You dare refuse me?" The princess's voice was cold now, dangerous. "I represent Earth," Taeyang said quietly. His voice was steady, even though his heart pounded in his chest. "I will not bow." Princess Lixara's eyes narrowed. She stood from her throne and descended to the arena floor, her robes flowing behind her like water. She walked around Taeyang slowly, studying him the way someone might study an insect. She was nearly a foot taller than him, and when she moved, it was with a grace that spoke of deadly power. "Your species is pathetic," she said. "Weak bones, slow reflexes, no natural weapons, no armor. You cannot even see properly in the dark. You live such short lives, dying before you can gain true wisdom. Tell me, human, why should the Empire grant Earth any trading rights? Why should we protect such inferior creatures?" Inside Taeyang's mind, a voice spoke. It was Hyejin, his AI companion, stored in a neural implant behind his ear. The princess and her guards did not know about Hyejin. They had scanned for weapons but had not detected the small biological computer integrated with his nervous system. "Stay calm," Hyejin whispered in his thoughts. "I am recording everything. Earth needs to see this." Taeyang took a slow breath. "We may be different from you," he said carefully, "but we have survived on our world for millions of years. We have built cities, explored our solar system, and reached for the stars. We ask only for fair treatment." Princess Lixara laughed. It was not a kind sound. "Fair treatment? You want fairness?" She turned to face the massive crowd above. "Let me show you fairness, human. I challenge you to survive in this arena for 1 minute. Just 60 seconds against my champion. If you live, Earth will receive trading rights and the Empire's protection. You will be free to explore the stars in peace." The crowd erupted in excited chatter. This was unexpected entertainment. "And if I fail?" Taeyang asked, though he already knew the answer. "If you fail, when you fail, Earth becomes a tributary world. Your people will serve the Empire for the next 100 years. Your resources will be ours. Your freedom will be gone." The princess smiled, showing teeth too sharp to be human. "But do not worry. You will not live long enough to see it. My champion has never let prey survive more than 30 seconds. Taeyang felt his blood turn cold. He was an engineer, not a fighter. He had some basic survival training from his time in Earth's space program, but nothing that would help him against an alien warrior. He would die here, and Earth would suffer for his failure. "Taeyang, do not accept," Hyejin urged in his mind. "This is impossible." But Taeyang thought of Earth. He thought of his family back home, of the billions of humans who had no idea their fate was being decided light years away. He thought of what would happen if he refused. Princess Lexara would find another way to humiliate humanity, another test that would be equally impossible. At least this way there was a chance, however small. "I accept," he said. The princess's smile widened. "Excellent. You have 72 hours to prepare. Use them wisely, human. They will be the last hours of your life." She turned and glided back to her throne. "Take him to the holding cells. Give him food and water. I want him healthy when he dies. It makes for better viewing." Guards appeared, massive creatures covered in armor. They removed Taeyang's energy cuffs and led him away from the arena floor. As he walked through the corridors, he could hear the crowd above discussing his coming death. They were already placing bets on how quickly he would fall. In the quiet of his holding cell, Taeyang sat on the hard bench and closed his eyes. His hands were shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. He had just agreed to fight an alien warrior with his bare hands. He would have 60 seconds to survive against something designed to kill. "Hyejin," he whispered, "what are our chances?" There was a pause before his AI companion answered. "According to my calculations, your chance of survival is less than 2%. Taeyang laughed, but it was a hollow sound. 2% is better than 0. "What is your plan?" Hyejin asked. Taeyang opened his eyes and looked around the cell. "I do not know yet, but I have 72 hours to figure something out. Princess Lexara thinks humans are weak because we do not have claws or armor or super strength. She thinks the only way to win is through physical power. Is she wrong?" Taeyang smiled grimly. "She is about to find out." The holding cell was small and cold, but it had a viewing screen on one wall. Through it, Taeyang could see the arena floor below, where workers prepared for the coming trial. They tested weapons, adjusted the lighting, and ran diagnostics on the environmental systems. Everything had to be perfect for the Empire's entertainment. Taeyang did not waste his time exercising or meditating like a warrior might. Instead, he watched everything with careful attention. He studied how the arena's gravity generators hummed at regular intervals. He noticed the ventilation ports along the walls and ceiling. He observed the pattern of light and shadow created by the massive crystal structure. "Hyejin," he said quietly, "can you access the arena's systems?" His AI companion was silent for a moment. "I am trying. The security is very strong, but it was designed to keep people from breaking in, not from analyzing data that is already being broadcast. I can access the public information channels and some of the environmental monitoring systems." "Good. I need to know everything about that arena. Temperature, air pressure, gravity fluctuations, structural weak points, everything." "Taeyang, even with all that information, you cannot defeat a Valorian warrior in combat. Their biology is superior in every measurable way." "I know," Taeyang said. "That is why I am not going to fight." Before Hyejin could respond, the cell door opened. Taeyang turned quickly, expecting guards. Instead, an older man shuffled in, his hands also bound in energy cuffs. He looked human, or mostly human, with Korean features and gray hair. His face was weathered and scarred, and his eyes held the wariness of someone who had survived many hard years. You must be the fool who challenged the princess, the man said in Korean. His accent was strange, marking him as someone who had lived away from Earth for a long time. I am Tai Yang. I did not challenge her. She challenged me. The man snorted and sat down on the opposite bench. Same result. You will be dead in 3 days. He studied Tai Yang more carefully. How old are you? 25? 30? 28. So young. And they sent you out here alone? What was Earth thinking? I was not alone. I had a crew of 12. They were released when I agreed to this trial. The princess wanted only me. Taeyang paused. Who are you? My name is Do-yun. I have been in this prison for 7 years. They caught me doing research on Valorian genetics, trying to understand how their healing works. The Empire does not like when other species study their biology too closely. He leaned back against the wall. I heard about you on the prisoner network. Everyone is talking about the human who refused to bow. Then everyone knows I am going to die. Yes. Do-yun's face was serious. But maybe dying is not the worst thing. At least you will die with dignity. That matters, even out here. Taeyang shook his head. I do not plan to die. I plan to survive 60 seconds. Do-yun laughed, but it was not a cruel laugh. It was sad. Young man. The princess's champion is named Grexus. He is a legend among Valorian warriors. He has 4 arms, each stronger than 10 humans. His skin is armored scales that can deflect bullets. He moves faster than your eyes can follow, and he has killed hundreds of opponents in these trials. I know what I am facing, Taeyang said quietly. Tell me, in your 7 years here, in all your research, did you find any Valorian weaknesses? Do-yun was silent for a long moment. Why do you ask? Even if I tell you their weaknesses, you are not a soldier. You cannot exploit them in combat. Please, any information might help. The older man sighed. Their enhanced senses are both a strength and a weakness. They can see in almost complete darkness, hear a heartbeat from across a room, and smell fear in sweat. But bright lights blind them more than they blind us. Loud noises hurt their ears more. Strong smells can confuse their tracking. What else? Their regeneration is incredible, but it requires oxygen-rich air and specific temperature ranges. In extreme cold or heat, they heal slower. In low-oxygen environments, they tire faster than we do. Taeyang felt a spark of hope. Their arrogance? Do-yun smiled grimly. That is their biggest weakness. Valorians believe so completely in their superiority that they never expect truly creative resistance. They train to fight other warriors. They do not train to fight people who think differently. Hyejin, Taeyang thought. Are you recording this? Yes. I am also cross-referencing with medical data from Earth. Humans evolved in diverse environments: deserts, mountains, tundra, jungles. Our adaptability is built into our genes. Valorians evolved on a single stable world. They are optimized, but not flexible. That evening, another visitor came to Taeyang's cell. She was young, perhaps his own age, with Korean features and nervous eyes. She wore the uniform of a medical officer, and she glanced over her shoulder constantly, as if afraid of being caught. My name is Nari, she whispered quickly. I work in the medical wing. I should not be here, but I wanted to help. She pressed a small data chip into his hand. This contains information about Valorian physiology, weaknesses, pressure points, biological responses. It is not much, but maybe it will help you survive. Why are you helping me? Taeyang asked. Nari's eyes were shining. Because I am tired of watching people die for entertainment. Because the Empire treats humans like we are nothing. Because someone needs to show them that we are more than they think. She turned to leave, then paused. My grandmother used to tell me stories about Earth, about humans who survived impossible situations through cleverness and courage. She said we climbed to the top of our world not because we were the strongest, but because we refused to give up. Show them she was right. After she left, Taeyang inserted the data chip into a hidden port in his neural implant. Hyejin immediately began analyzing the information. "This is very detailed," Hyejin said with surprise. "She risked a lot to give you this. The Valorian pressure points are here, their nerve clusters, even their psychological profiles. Grexis specifically is listed as overconfident and glory-seeking. He prefers quick kills to impress the audience." Taeyang spent the next 2 days studying, not practicing combat moves, but memorizing the arena's layout. He learned where every ventilation shaft was located. He calculated how long it would take for gravity adjustments to propagate across the floor. He identified structural points where the crystal walls were thinner. He even studied the timing of the holographic displays and how they might create brief shadows. Doyen visited him several times, bringing food and telling stories of Earth's history. He spoke of ancient warriors who won battles through strategy rather than strength. He described survival situations where humans outlasted stronger predators through patience and intelligence. He reminded Taeyang that every human alive was descended from survivors, people who faced impossible odds and lived anyway. "You do not need to defeat Grexis," Doyun said on the final night. "You only need to survive. That is what humans do best. We survive." Taeyang could not sleep that last night. He lay on the bench, reviewing everything in his mind. Hyejin ran simulations, calculating possibilities and probabilities. Most of them ended with Taeyang's death, but a very few, showed a narrow path to survival. "It will require perfect timing," Hyejin warned, "and a lot of luck." "Do we have any other choice?" Taeyang asked. "No." As dawn approached, or what passed for dawn in the artificial environment of the arena station, Taeyang stood and faced the viewing screen. Down below, workers finished their preparations. The arena was ready. Soon, billions would watch to see if a human could survive 60 seconds against impossible odds. Taeyang touched the data chip hidden in his implant and thought of Nari's grandmother, of Doyun's stories, of every human who ever faced death and chose to fight anyway. He was not a warrior. He was an engineer. But engineers solved problems, and survival was just another problem to solve. "Hyejin," he said softly, "let us show them what humans can do." The arena was packed. Every seat held an alien spectator, and the holographic screens showed that billions more watched from across the empire. The noise was deafening, a mixture of cheers, jeers, and excited chatter in 1,000 different languages. They had all come to see the same thing: a human die. Taeyang stood in the preparation chamber, a small room beneath the arena floor. His hands were no longer bound. They had given him simple clothes, loose pants and a shirt, nothing that would give him any advantage. No armor, no weapons, nothing but his own body and mind. Guards stood by the door, watching him with bored expressions. They had seen many prisoners prepare for death. This was nothing new to them. 30 seconds until you enter," one guard announced. Taeyang closed his eyes and took slow breaths. His heart was racing, but he forced himself to remain calm. Fear would make him stupid, and he could not afford to be stupid right now. He thought through his plan one more time, checking every detail. "Hyejin, are you ready?" he thought. "All systems are prepared," his AI companion replied. "I have access to the arena's environmental monitoring network. When you give the signal, I will execute the sequence." "But Taeyang, this is extremely dangerous. Even if everything goes perfectly, you could still die." "I know, but if I do nothing, I definitely die. I would rather try." 10 seconds, the guard called. The floor beneath Taeyang began to rise. This was the dramatic entrance the Empire loved. prisoners rising up from below while the crowd screamed for blood. Light flooded over him as he emerged into the arena. The noise hit him like a physical force, thousands of aliens cheering and laughing and waiting for entertainment. Across the arena floor, another platform rose. On it stood Grexus. Tae-Yang felt his breath catch. He had seen images of Grexus in the data files, but nothing prepared him for the reality. The Valorian warrior was massive, nearly 9 feet tall, with 4 powerful arms ending in clawed hands. His skin was covered in overlapping scales that gleamed like dark metal. His face was almost reptilian, with glowing yellow eyes that fixed on Tae-Yang with predatory focus. Grexus wore only minimal armor around his chest, confident that his natural defenses were enough. The warrior smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Above them, Princess Lixara's voice rang out through speakers. "Citizens of the Empire, today you witness justice. This human dared to defy imperial authority. Now he will face the consequences." She paused for dramatic effect. "The rules are simple. No weapons. No interference. The human must survive for 60 seconds. If he does, his species gains trading rights and freedom. When he fails, Earth becomes our tributary." The crowd roared with approval. The holographic timer appeared in the air, a massive display showing 60 hour seconds. Princess Lixara raised her hand. "Let the trial begin." The timer started. 60. 59. 58. Grexus moved immediately. He dropped into a combat stance and charged across the arena floor with frightening speed. His forearms spread wide, ready to grab or strike or tear. He moved so fast that he was nearly a blur. Tae-Yang ran. He did not try to fight or stand his ground. He turned and sprinted toward the far side of the arena, running as fast as his human legs could carry him. The crowd laughed at his cowardice. They had expected this. Humans always ran before they died, but Tae-Yang was not running in panic. He was running with purpose, following the path he had memorized. Grexus was faster, but Tae-Yang had a head start. He counted his steps, measuring distance precisely. 55, 54, 53. "Hyejin, sequence 1, Tae-Yang thought. Immediately, the ventilation system above them activated. A powerful blast of cold air shot down from the ceiling vents, carrying with it a fine mist. It was just water vapor, harmless, but it filled the air between Tae-Yang and Grexus like sudden fog. Grexus snarled in frustration. His enhanced vision, designed to see in darkness, struggled with the swirling moisture and refracted light. He slowed slightly, unable to see his prey clearly. Tae-Yang used those precious seconds to change direction. He ran left, toward a section of the arena where the crystal walls met the floor. He could hear Grexus behind him, roaring with anger. The warrior was learning to track by sound now, listening for footsteps. 48, 47, 46. Grexus burst through the fog, spotting Tae-Yang again. He was closer now, close enough that Tae-Yang could hear the warrior's breathing. Those massive clawed hands reached out, ready to grab him. "Sequence 2!" Tae-Yang thought desperately. The arena's gravity generators, which Hyejin had been monitoring for 3 days, suddenly shifted. It was a subtle change, just a 5% increase in gravitational pull, localized to the section where Grexus was running. The change would barely affect Tae-Yang at his current distance, but Grexus was moving at full speed. His momentum carried him forward just as the gravity increased. The warrior stumbled. It was only for a second, just a small loss of balance. But at that speed, a second was enough. Grexus crashed into the crystal wall with a thunderous impact. The wall cracked, but did not break. Grexus shook his head, dazed and furious. The crowd's laughter had stopped. This was not going as they expected. 40, 39, 38. Tae-Yang kept running. His lungs burned and his legs ached. He was not built for this kind of physical exertion. Humans were endurance runners, built for long distances, not sprints. But adrenaline kept him moving. Grexus recovered quickly. His Valorian healing was already repairing the minor damage from his collision. He turned his glowing eyes on Tae-Yang and charged again, but this time he was more careful. He would not be fooled by tricks again. Tae-Yang ran toward the center of the arena. He could feel Grexus getting closer. The warrior was learning his patterns, adapting to his speed. Soon there would be nowhere left to run. 32, 31, 30. Halfway. Tae-Yang had survived 30 seconds. But the next 30 would be harder. Grexus was angry now, and angry predators were dangerous. "Tae-Yang, you need to move faster," Hyejin warned. "He is closing the distance." But Tae-Yang was already running as fast as he could. His human body had limits that no amount of intelligence could overcome. He needed another advantage. He ran toward one of the massive holographic projectors that created the timer display. These projectors were solid at their base, anchored to the arena floor. Tae-Yang circled behind one just as Grexus lunged at him. "Sequence 3!" The holographic projector suddenly activated at full power. A blinding flash of light erupted from it, aimed directly at Grexus's face. The warrior's enhanced eyes, sensitive to light, were overwhelmed. He roared in pain and rage, clawing at his face. 24, 23, 22. Tae-Yang used the confusion to run to another section of the arena, but he was slowing down. His body was reaching its limits. His vision was starting to blur from exhaustion. He had maybe one more trick left, and then he would have nothing. Grexus recovered faster than Tae-Yang hoped. The warrior's eyes were watering, but he could still see. And now he was truly angry. He had been humiliated in front of billions. The human was supposed to die quickly, and instead he was still running, still escaping, still surviving. Grexus stopped chasing. Instead, he moved to cut off Tae-Yang's escape routes. He was smart enough to realize he did not need to catch Tae-Yang. He just needed to corner him. 18, 17, 16. Tae-Yang saw what was happening. He tried to change direction, but Grexus was there. He tried another path, but Grexus blocked it. The warrior was hurting him, driving him toward a corner of the arena where there would be no escape. "Hyejin, I need options," Tae-Yang thought desperately. "There are no options left. You used all the systems I can safely access. If I try anything else, I might cause a catastrophic failure. Do it anyway! Tae-Yang, do it! If I am going to die, I want to go down fighting." 12, 11, 10. Grexus cornered him. Tae-Yang's back was against the crystal wall. There was nowhere left to run. The warrior approached slowly now, savoring his victory. He would make this death last, make it memorable. "Any last words, human?" Grexus asked. His voice was deep and rough, like grinding stones. Tae-Yang looked up at the timer. 10 seconds. He just needed to survive 10 more seconds. "Yes," Tae-Yang said, gasping for breath. "Sequence 4." Above them, something in the arena's structure groaned. Hyejin had found a weak point, a place where the crystal walls were thinnest. She overloaded the atmospheric pressure regulators in that section, creating a sudden violent imbalance. A section of the crystal wall fractured. Debris fell between Tae-Yang and Grexus. It was not much, just enough to separate them for a few crucial seconds. 6, 5, 4. Grexus roared and smashed through the debris, his 4 arms clearing a path. But it took time. Precious seconds that Tae-Yang did not waste. 3, 2, 1. The timer reached 0. A loud horn sounded across the arena. The trial was over. Tae-Yang collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. Grexus stood over him, one clawed hand raised for a killing blow. But the horn had sounded. The rules were clear. The human had survived 60 seconds. The arena was silent. 10 billion beings across the empire watched in shock. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were weak. Humans died quickly. This was established fact. And yet Tae-Yang was alive. Princess Lixara stared at the arena floor in disbelief. The human was still alive, collapsed and gasping, barely able to move, but alive. Around her, the council members whispered among themselves. The holographic screens showed the shocked faces of billions across the empire. This was supposed to be simple entertainment. Instead, it had become something else entirely. "The trial is complete," an elder council member announced. His voice carried authority that even the princess could not ignore. The human survived 60 seconds. By imperial law, the agreement must be honored. Princess Lixara stood from her throne. Her silver skin flushed darker with anger. He cheated. He manipulated the arena's systems. He did not fight with honor. "The rules stated no weapons and no outside interference," another council member replied. "They said nothing about using the environment itself. The human broke no rules." "Then the rules were inadequate," the princess's voice echoed through the arena. "This proves nothing. Any coward can run and hide and play tricks." On the arena floor, Taeyang struggled to his feet. Medical drones approached him, scanning for injuries. He had cuts and bruises, and his body shook with exhaustion, but he was alive. He looked up at Princess Lixara with steady eyes. "I survived," he said simply. His voice was amplified for all to hear. That was the challenge. "I completed it." The princess descended from her throne once more, landing lightly on the arena floor. She approached Taeyang, and this time her expression was different. The mockery was gone, replaced by cold fury and something else. Perhaps a hint of respect, though she would never admit it. "You think yourself clever, human? You think running away proves your species deserves respect?" She circled him slowly. "Very well. If you want to truly prove human worth, I offer you another challenge. A real test, not some timed game in a controlled arena." "Your Highness," a council member warned, "the agreement has been satisfied. Earth has earned silence." Princess Lixara's eyes never left Taeyang. "I am not breaking our agreement. I am offering an additional opportunity. The human may refuse if he wishes." She smiled coldly. "My family owns a hunting world. It is where young Valorian warriors go to prove themselves. The planet is filled with predators, toxic plants, extreme weather, and terrain designed to kill. Warriors must survive there for 1 week to earn their rank." The arena fell silent again. Everyone understood what she was offering. "If you survive 1 week on that world," the princess continued, "with no help, no advanced technology, nothing but basic survival gear, then I will personally acknowledge human strength before the entire empire. Earth will receive not just trading rights, but full member status in the Imperial Council. You will have a voice in galactic affairs." "And if he fails?" Doyun's voice called out. The older man had been brought to the arena to watch. Guards held him, but he shouted anyway. "What happens to Earth, then?" "Nothing," Princess Lixara said, surprising everyone. "The original agreement stands either way. Earth keeps its trading rights and freedom. But this human will die on my world, and everyone will know that his survival today was just luck and tricks. The Empire will never truly respect humanity." Taeyang wanted to refuse. He had already risked everything and won. Earth was safe now. He could go home. But he looked at the faces on the holographic screens, aliens from 1,000 worlds, all watching to see what the human would do. He saw the doubt in their eyes. The princess was right. They thought his survival was luck. 1 minute of running and hiding had not changed their minds about human weakness. "Taeyang, do not do this," Hyejin warned in his mind. "You have done enough. Let someone else carry this burden." But Taeyang thought of Nari's grandmother and her stories. He thought of Doyun's words about dignity and survival. He thought of every human child who would grow up in a galaxy that saw them as weak and lesser. "I accept," he said. The crowd erupted in noise. Some cheered, excited for more entertainment. Others argued, saying this was unfair. The council members looked uncomfortable. They had not expected this development. Princess Lixara nodded slowly. "You have courage, human. That much I grant you. But courage will not be enough on Vexel 4. That world has killed many Valorian warriors, beings far stronger than you. You will last perhaps 2 days at most." "When do we start?" Taiyang asked. "In 3 days. That gives time for Earth's government to be informed and for you to recover from today's exertion." The princess turned away. "Use that time wisely. Learn to make peace with your coming death." The next 3 days were chaos. Earth's government sent an emergency diplomatic fleet, arriving with remarkable speed. On board was Ambassador Minje, a stern woman in her 50s who had spent 20 years negotiating with alien species. She was furious. "You had no authority to accept another challenge," she shouted at Taiyang in the private meeting room they had provided. "Earth won! You could have come home!" "Earth won survival," Taiyang replied calmly. "Not respect. There is a difference. Respect does not matter if you are dead." "It matters," Doyun said quietly. He had been released from prison and allowed to attend the meeting. "It matters more than you know, Ambassador. I have lived among aliens for years. They respect strength and courage. Without those things, humans will always be seen as inferior. Our trading rights will be conditional, our voices ignored. This young man understands what is at stake." Minje turned to Doyun. "And you support this suicide mission?" "I support his choice. That is what humans do. We choose our own paths." Also on the diplomatic ship was Soman, a tactical officer who specialized in survival training. She was younger than the ambassador, in her early 30s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had reviewed all the data on Vexal 4 and looked grim. "The princess's hunting world is no joke," Somin told Taiyang. "Temperatures swing from freezing to scorching within hours." The local fauna includes pack hunters with venom, flying predators with razor talons, and ambush creatures that hide underground. The plant life is mostly toxic to carbon-based life forms. There is water, but it needs to be purified. And the atmosphere is thinner than Earth's, which means you will tire faster. "Can I survive?" Taiyang asked. Somin was silent for a moment. "If you were Valorian, I would say your chances are decent. They are adapted for extreme conditions. But you are human. Our advantages are different." She leaned forward. "However, I have studied Earth's environmental diversity. We have deserts hotter than Vexal 4's day cycle. We have tundra colder than its nights. We have jungles more toxic and mountains with thinner air. Earth is many hostile worlds combined into one." "That is your advantage." "How?" "Valorians evolved on a stable world with consistent conditions. They are optimized for that environment. Humans evolved on a planet that tried to kill us in 100 different ways. We learned to adapt, to survive anywhere. That adaptability is in your genes." Soman pulled up maps and data files. "I am going to teach you everything I know about surviving on hostile worlds. You have 3 days. It is not enough time, but it will have to be." For the next 72 hours, Taiyang trained. Not physical combat, but survival skills. Soman taught him how to identify water sources, how to build shelter from minimal materials, how to recognize dangerous plants by their structure, how to move without being tracked, how to treat injuries with natural resources. She drilled him relentlessly. "Remember, you are not a warrior," Soman repeated constantly. "Do not try to fight the planet's predators. Avoid them. Humans are not apex predators through strength. We are apex predators through intelligence. Use your brain." Hyejin absorbed all the information, storing survival databases and cross-referencing them with the data Nari had provided. The AI ran thousands of simulations, calculating survival strategies for different scenarios. On the final night before the trial, Ambassador Minje visited Taiyang alone. Her anger had faded, replaced by concern. "My government wants me to stop you," she said. But I cannot. You accepted freely, and breaking that word would shame Earth. She sat down across from him. I have a son your age. He joined the space program too. If he were in your position, I do not know if I would want him to fight or flee. I am not fighting, Taeyang said. I am surviving. That is different. Is it? Minjae looked tired. Promise me something. If you realize you cannot win, if death becomes certain, activate your emergency beacon. We will extract you. It will mean failure, but at least you will live. Taeyang nodded but said nothing. They both knew he would not use the beacon. This was about more than survival now. This was about showing the galaxy who humans were. The next morning, Taeyang stood in the shuttle bay, wearing basic survival gear. He had a knife, a water container, fire-starting tools, and emergency medical supplies. Nothing electronic, nothing that would give him an unfair advantage, just the basics. Princess Lixara was there to see him off. Last chance to refuse, human. Admit you are afraid, and I will let you go home with your life. Taeyang looked at her steadily. I am afraid, he admitted. Fear is natural, but I am going anyway. That is what courage is. For the first time, something flickered in the princess's expression. Not quite respect, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. Then may you die bravely. That is the best any warrior can hope for. The shuttle took Taeyang down to Vexal 4's surface. Through the viewport, he could see the hostile world below. Purple vegetation, jagged mountains, violent storms. It looked like nightmare made real. 1 week, he whispered to himself. Just survive 1 week. The shuttle left Taeyang alone in the wilderness of Vexal 4. He stood at the drop point, watching as it disappeared into the purple-tinted sky. Then he was truly alone, surrounded by alien vegetation and strange sounds. The air was thin, making each breath feel slightly insufficient. The temperature was pleasant now, but Soman had warned him it would swing to extremes within hours. Hyejin, status report, he thought. I am here, his AI companion replied. My systems are limited without external technology, but I can still help with calculations and analysis. Where do we start? We find shelter, then water, then food, same as surviving anywhere on Earth. Princess Lixara watched from orbit through surveillance drones that tracked Taeyang's every move. She sat in her command center with her elite guards, expecting to see the human die within the first day. Her people had placed bets on how long he would last. The average guess was 30 hours. Day 1 began with Taeyang moving carefully through the alien forest. The purple vegetation was beautiful, but dangerous. He used the identification techniques Somin had taught him, avoiding plants with certain warning signs, odd colors, unusual symmetry, strange scents. He found a rocky outcropping that would provide shelter from wind and rain. Using his knife and basic tools, he built a simple lean-to structure, reinforcing it with branches and broad leaves. Princess Lixara watched with growing interest. He moves efficiently, she noted. No wasted motion. He is conserving energy. He is still going to die, Your Highness, one of her guards said confidently. When the night cycle comes, the temperature will drop below freezing. That shelter will not be enough. But Taeyang had planned for this. He spent the afternoon gathering dry materials and building a fire pit. When night fell and the temperature plummeted, he had a fire burning. He fed it carefully through the night, staying warm. It was not comfortable, but it kept him alive. Day 2 brought new challenges. Taeyang needed water. He found a stream, but the water was murky and suspicious. Using techniques from his engineering training, he built a basic filtration system using sand, charcoal from his fire, and cloth from his spare clothing. The water that came through was not perfect, but it was drinkable. He boiled it over his fire as an extra precaution. He is adapting. Princess Lixera said slowly. She had expected panic, fear, desperation. Instead, the human moved with calm purpose, treating each challenge as a problem to solve. Many humans die from bad water on survival worlds, another guard observed. He is being very careful. That afternoon, Taeyang encountered his first predator. A pack of creatures resembling wolves with 6 legs and crystalline teeth appeared, tracking his scent. Taeyang's instinct was to run, but Soman's training stopped him. Running triggered chase instincts in predators. Instead, he climbed a tree, or rather, the Vexel 4 equivalent of a tree. The creatures circled below, snarling and snapping, but Taeyang stayed calm. He had food and water with him. He could wait. After several hours, the pack grew bored and left to find easier prey. Smart, Princess Lixera admitted. He did not try to fight. He simply removed himself from the situation. Day 3 brought the storm Soman had warned about. Vexal 4's weather patterns were violent and unpredictable. Rain came down in sheets, and wind threatened to tear apart his shelter. Taeyang had prepared for this too. He had reinforced his lean-to and found a position that protected him from the worst of the wind. He stayed low, stayed dry, and waited for the storm to pass. In orbit, Princess Lixera stood suddenly. How is he still alive? This storm killed 3 Valorian warriors during their trials last year. Valorians seek to dominate their environment, one of her older advisors said thoughtfully. This human seems to be working with the environment instead. Different philosophy. Day 4 was when Princess Lixera made her decision. She contacted her hunting party. Prepare yourselves. We are going down to the surface. To retrieve the human's body, Your Highness? No. To hunt him myself. I want to understand how he is surviving. The princess and her elite guards descended to Vexal 4. They were the finest trackers in the Empire, able to follow trails that were invisible to most species. They found Taeyang's camp easily. But Taeyang was not there. He had moved on, and his trail was clever. He walked in streams to hide his scent. He used rocks to avoid leaving footprints. He created false trails that led nowhere. He knows we are coming, Princess Lixera realized. He is treating this like warfare, not survival. They tracked him for 2 days. Each time they got close, Taeyang slipped away. He was slower than them, weaker than them, but he was unpredictable. He did things no Valorian would do, crawling through mud to hide his heat signature, climbing dangerous cliffs that no sane person would attempt, hiding in places that were uncomfortable but offered concealment. Day 5 brought an unexpected turn. Princess Lixera's second-in-command, a warrior named Corvus, stepped on a hidden creature that injected venom into his leg. He collapsed, paralyzed. The princess and her remaining guards carried him to their camp to treat the injury. That night, they heard footsteps outside their camp. The guards raised their weapons, ready to defend. A figure emerged from the darkness. It was Taeyang. "Do not move," Princess Lixera commanded. "You are surrounded." But Taeyang did not look afraid. He looked tired and concerned. In his hands, he carried several plants. "Your warrior has venom in his blood," he said calmly. "These plants will help neutralize it." "I have seen similar toxins on Earth." The guards looked to their princess, uncertain. This made no sense. The human should be hiding, running, trying to survive until the week ended. Instead, he was helping the people hunting him. "Why would you help us?" Princess Lixera demanded. "Because he is dying," Taeyang said simply. "I may be competing against you, but I am not a monster. If I can help, I will." He showed them how to prepare the plants, how to create a poultice that would draw out the venom. The princess's medical training told her the human was right. She allowed it. Over the next hour, Corvus's condition stabilized. "You could have left us," Princess Lixara said to Tai Yang. You could have hidden and survived the last 2 days easily. Why reveal yourself? Because surviving is not the same as living, Tai Yang replied. Humans do not survive just for ourselves. We survive for each other. That is what makes us strong. The princess stared at him for a long moment. Then she made a gesture. Go. Return to your camp. We will not hunt you for the remaining time. You have earned that much. Day 6 and 7 passed quietly. Tai Yang maintained his camp, gathered food, and waited. Princess Lixara and her guards observed from a distance, no longer hunting, but simply watching. They saw how he adapted to every challenge, how he learned from his mistakes, how he never gave up, even when exhausted. On the final morning, when the week was complete, the shuttle arrived to retrieve Tai Yang. Princess Lixara was there to meet him. The human looked terrible, covered in dirt and scratches, thinner than he had been, exhausted beyond measure, but he was alive. And in his eyes was something unbreakable. How did you do it? Princess Lixara asked. You are not stronger than us, not faster, not more durable. By every measure, you should have died. Tai Yang took a slow breath. You were raised on a world designed for your species. Every challenge here was similar to what you knew. I was raised on Earth, a planet that is many worlds in one. Deserts that burn, tundra that freezes, jungles that poison, oceans that crush, mountains where air is thin. For millions of years, Earth tried to kill us in every way imaginable. We did not just survive, we conquered it. We spread across every environment from poles to equator, and then we reached for the stars. He looked at the alien landscape around them. This world is deadly, but it is just one type of deadly. Earth taught us to survive all types. That is the difference. You are optimized for your environment. We are optimized for change itself. Princess Lixara was silent for a long time. Finally, she knelt before him. It was a gesture no one had ever seen her make. The proud princess kneeling before a human. I was wrong, she said clearly. I judged your species by our standards, and that was my mistake. Humans are not weak. You are different, and I see now that difference is its own strength. 3 days later, before the full Galactic Council, Princess Lixara made her announcement. I hereby declare that Earth has earned full member status in the Empire. Not because they begged for it, not because they paid for it, but because they proved themselves worthy. This human, she gestured to Tai Yang, has shown me that strength comes in many forms. Humans may not be the strongest or fastest, but they are survivors. And survivors deserve respect. The council voted, and it was unanimous. Earth was now a full member of the galactic community. 1 year later, Princess Lixara visited Earth for the first time. She stood with Tai Yang on a mountain peak in Korea, looking out over the landscape. She saw snow-capped peaks and green valleys, rivers and forests, a world of incredible diversity. Now I understand, she said softly. Every part of your world requires different survival skills. You did not evolve for one environment. You evolved to master all environments. Tai Yang smiled. Welcome to Earth, Princess. Try not to die. She laughed, a real laugh, not the cruel mockery from their first meeting. I will do my best, but tell me, are all humans like you? No, Tai Yang admitted. I am not special. I am just one person who refused to give up. But that attitude, that is human. We do not survive because we are strong. We survive because we choose to keep surviving, no matter what. Every human you meet has that same quality. We are all descendants of survivors. It is in our blood. Princess Lixara looked out at Earth with new understanding. This beautiful, deadly, diverse planet had forged a species unlike any other in the galaxy. They were not superior in any single way, but their adaptability made them formidable. And perhaps more importantly, They had something many advanced species had lost: the will to help each other, even when it cost them personally. "I am glad I met you, Taeyang," she said. "You have changed how I see the galaxy." "And I am glad I survived long enough to have this conversation," Taeyang replied with a grin. They stood together on that mountain, a princess from a warrior race and an engineer from Earth, watching the sun set over the world that had trained humanity for the stars. And in that moment, the galaxy understood that underestimating humans was a mistake they would never make again.